Have you ever taken a ghost tour? I always thought they were just campfire stories with better lighting until the night. Something followed me out of the villa's axe murder house. The house itself is unassuming. A small white farmhouse on a quiet street in rural Villisca, Iowa. You'd think it was charming. And if you didn't know its history, maybe it was. But the moment I stepped through the door with our small tour group, it felt wrong. The air was heavy, stale, like the house hadn't been able to breathe in over a century. Our guide, a middle-aged man with a lantern, spoke in hushed tones as he led us into the front parlor. He recounted the infamous night of June 1912, how 8 people, 6 of them children, were murdered in their sleep with an axe. Their killer was never found. I am gone. Pause here, because there's something that bothers me about this story that I am realizing now as I record this episode. Which is like, why do we call these events tragic? Like, yeah, they are tragic, but I want to make a distinction here between like, yeah, this event is awful, but also they deserve to be remembered. So I don't mean this respectfully. Okay, I do mean this respectfully. But anyway, he said the walls had soaked up the screams, that sometimes, if the house trusted you, you'd hear them. I tried to laugh it off, but the silence after his words was suffocating. The only sounds were the old wood shifting beneath our feet, and somewhere faintly the rattle of the wind through cracked window frames. We moved upstairs. The children's room was the worst for tiny beds, made up with faded quilts. A doll with one glassy eye sat in the corner, its porcelain face cracked. The guide lowered his lantern. This is where the Stillinger girls were found, he whispered. The temperature dropped so sharply I could see my breath. Everyone else huddled closer together, but I hung back, near the doorway. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am not the bravest person when it comes to things like this, and I always encourage you guys to be respectful when you visit these kinds of places. That being said, this is not my story to tell. This is the story of the Moses family and the Stillinger family, and so I will link down below the podcast, No Rest for the Wicked, which has a much more thorough retelling of what happened in this house and what is believed to have happened. Because honestly, there are so many theories about what happened here. There's no shortage of podcasts, videos, articles. They're all really fascinating. But this story is theirs, and we should let it rest. We eventually filed back downstairs. The others laughed nervously, comparing the chills they felt, brushing it all off as theatrics. I stayed quiet. My hands were shaking. I couldn't shake the image of that blanket moving on its own. The final part of the tour was the kitchen. The guide invited us to sit at the old table in the dark. He told us to close our eyes and listen. At first, all I heard was the soft hum of the lantern. Then came a dragging sound, like wood scraping across the floor. My eyes shot open. Nothing had moved. Everyone else sat still, eyes shut, oblivious. But the sound didn't stop. It circled the table slowly, like someone pacing behind each of us, dragging something heavy along the floorboards. When it reached me, it paused. The silence pressed against my ears until I thought they'd burst. Then a whisper, close enough to warm the tiny hairs on the back of my neck. You shouldn't have come. I bolted. My chair scraped loudly as I stood. The others laughed nervously, thinking I was playing along. I wasn't. I stayed by the front door until the tour ended, refusing to step back into the kitchen. When we finally left the house, I thought the worst was over. But as I got into my car, I saw it in the rear-view mirror. Just for a second, a figure, pale and narrow, standing in the upstairs window, watching me leave. I drove all the way back to my motel with the radio blasting, trying to drown out the memory of that whisper. By the time I got to my room, I was shaking from exhaustion. I turned on the TV, left every light on, and collapsed onto the bed. Sometime in the night, I woke to the sound of breathing. Slow, steady, too close. I sat up, heart pounding, scanning the room. No one, just shadows stretching across the wallpaper. I tried to calm myself down, telling myself it was in my head. That's when I noticed the blankets. They were pulled tight against my legs, tucked down around my ankles, just like the small bed in the children's room. I yanked them free, stumbled out of bed, and flicked on the bathroom light. I forced myself to stay awake until morning, staring at that bed, waiting for the blankets to move again. They didn't, but every time I closed my eyes, I heard that same voice, just above a whisper, echoing in my skull. You shouldn't have come. I left Iowa the next morning. That was weeks ago. But the thing is, the whisper didn't stay in Villisca. I still hear it sometimes, when the room is too quiet, when the lights go out, and last night, I woke up with the blankets tucked tight around my ankles again. This experience changed the way I look at ghost tours. Now I research the history of the places I visit, so I can understand what happened there and hopefully honor those who might still be lingering. I don't take paranormal investigations lightly anymore. I believe there are some places we're just not meant to disturb. And now I'm curious to hear from you. Have you ever experienced anything like this? Let me know down in the comments. Also, please subscribe, it makes my day. And thank you to all of my patrons for supporting my channel. I appreciate you so much. Thank you to my friend for sending this to me. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, check out another one of my favorite episodes here. Thanks for listening.